Very excited to have my next guest join us. Their debut album is called Deep Down Happy. It is the lovely folks of Sports Team. Hey there.
All right.
Hey.
It is amazing to see you guys all together. This is it's actually very strange. Have you been quarantining together this whole time?
We all live together in London, so we're stuck.
What has that been like? Because you guys have been obviously friends for so long, and now to actually be like living together and with very limited options and going out.
Yeah, we're not friends. It's been good. It's been nice. I think we're kind of lucky in a way to have each other. We've become very tolerant.
I can imagine. What was the catalyst for you guys becoming friends when you first met each other? Never mind forming a band.
I'm not sure. I think proximity.
Close proximity.
Close proximity. Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't want the whole interview to be about alcohol, but essentially, like we were all in uni together in the UK, and I'm not.
We lived opposite each other in halls.
Yeah.
You lived down the corridor.
We lived down the corridor. I guess just sort of going to pubs and drinking and talking about music and talking about like I love Pavement. That's basically my only interest in life. The band, Pavement, the rock band from America.
Right.
And, we sort of bonded over bands like that and Parquet Courts and Australian bands like Eddie Current, Suppression Ring, and that whole like I guess like 90s alternative scene. And so we just sort of sit around in our rooms and we all had guitars because we wanted to be, cool rock bands, but never had
Couldn't
been.
play them.
Couldn't play them. Yeah, like the sort of I could play an E chord and do, Wonderwall maybe after 3 or 4 pints, but like we couldn't do anything. But eventually it sort of went from just listening. I guess you listen to Pavement enough and you realise like, oh wow, maybe I could be in a band. There's not really a huge level of technical proficiency there. It's more just like attitude and feeling and sort of, as you say, like the whole group of friends against the world sort of thing. So yeah, I guess that's what started it. But everyone else.
And then we got trapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get institutionalised, and now we don't know how to socialise with other people, so we're trapped for life.
A joke that went too far.
Oh, I've heard you guys refer to yourselves as a gang before. Is this a what?
I think it's I mean, what kind of gang are we? Like a sad gang? I don't know. I think probably
Sad gang, right?
sad gang. Yeah, sad gang does it pretty well. Like we all sort of went to tons of gigs when we were kids as well. So when we were like 15, 16, you'd be going to Reading Festival or Glastonbury or like more embarrassing things like seeing bands like Egyptian hip hop in London at sort of underage festivals. And like, just like constantly loved going to gigs and sort of moshing and trying to buy beers in London when you're about 16. And everything's like this big fun adventure. And so, when we started out, I guess, when you get to sort of 18, 19, 20, you think, okay, well, maybe now's the time to do our own thing. And it's kind of the better side of it, I think. You get the free beers in your dressing room and get to go to all the festivals and you get a sweet van you get to drive around in.
I think, which is a gang, it's you kind of go around the world together and you have a kind of incredible set of shared experiences that become very formative for you. And I think the sense that I mean it is when you get up on stage to how many people it is, like 5,000-10,000 people, there is that sort of sense of confrontation. Like you get quite a sort of like visceral instinct that comes up in you, like fight or flight almost. And you're there with kind of 5 of your mates behind you fighting 10,000 people down. And I mean, that's quite bonding. It's a gang in that sense.
In the U.S., there obviously been a lot of racial tensions with the Black Lives Matter movement, and then you guys released your album in the midst of this all. And I'm kind of curious what the thought process was and how you went about, pushing this out there and thankfully giving us some respite in the middle of a lot of these serious issues.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there's been as many issues in London. I think the UK's kind of got its own unique set of problems around sort of the legacy of empire and things like that. So we've been out protesting while it's all been on, so the week of our album release. So I don't know, I think you realise that sort of having an album out does give you a platform to talk about certain things if we use it to speak about that, hopefully in the right way. And it's a valuable thing to do. That's what we're thinking about doing in the future.
Civil rights really is like a heavy ongoing issue and not something that happened in the
I think
1960s.
what is done in like a really positive way is just like really, really engendered self-reflection and criticality, and like that is applicable like across the board. It's kind of like you've got the time. There's no excuse. Like everybody can and should be like just assessing like the way that we are and act and why that is. And I think like for us, it's been like a pretty important thing to do. And obviously that was all kind of triggered by what happened over there. But I think it's like the UK's got very deep rooted like colonial issues of its own, and like it kind of has enabled a more open conversation about all of that.
Did you guys participate in the protests over there? What was the mood like?
It felt very uplifting, to be honest. It was like, obviously there was a lot of anger and like sort of anger in general, but I think the general sort of mood of support from, like, we were kind of marching down the roads and stuff and like stopping a lot of traffic, and all the cars were sort of hooting and like supporting what was happening, a lot of people leaning out their windows. So it seemed like overwhelmingly, at least from what we saw, like overwhelmingly positive, peaceful, like, you know, kind of strangely uplifting while still being very angry.
I think it's a slightly different legacy here as well. We were talking before about there is empire inside. There's been a big thing around pulling down statues, because there's a lot of that. You only have to walk around London for sort of 20 minutes to realise a lot of it has been built by people that have made their money off slave trading, for example. And you do see the legacy of empire everywhere. So there's been that. There's been a sort of the Windrush scandal recently as well that people have focused on, which has been so sort of when people were invited over from former British colonies, do they have a right to stay on an ongoing basis? And some people have been deported, which is appalling. And so I think we've got quite a specific set of problems here as well, which people are realising.
Well, you're going to head into the studio very shortly here. What do you imagine that'll be like? Is it just going to be like the old days 4 months ago?
We're trying to get the label to basically pay for us to go and live in a really beautiful villa somewhere in Greece or the south of France and have like the full Rolling Stones, like big setup and like whatever really expensive like stacks of amps we can get in there. So I think, you know, this might be the last time we're ever allowed to make a record, so you may as well waste everyone's money when you're doing it. Hopefully it'll be good. I think we're going back into work with the first record.
Do you think you'll appreciate the studio time this time around? Because I know that you live for the stage.
It's like studios are really boring. This is like the common, like you see so many documentaries and films, and they make the studio seem like a 5-minute like montage. You know what I mean? And it seems wicked, and like everyone's having a great time and like coming up with songs, and it's drinking beers and like it's just amazing. But actually, it's like Al tuning her snare, or someone else tuning Al's snare.
I can't tune a snare.
For like 18 hours and like moving a drum mic, and like the first 2 days will be just getting drum sounds, and it is so boring. It's so boring, and there's like no light in these rooms, and you know. So yeah, we're really trying to find someone with like a pool with a jacuzzi, or like I don't know, we can sunbathe or something.
We don't like to
but it's not good.
I think I speak for a lot of your fans in that I wish that at one point you guys will just go in the studio and record a live album, front to back.
You know, we kind of did that. That's like our first record, the Winter Nets one. It was bad, not good, because we couldn't really play it. But that was sort of like, because we couldn't do the click. Like we were first introduced to the click, the metronome, and it didn't work for us. We couldn't really understand what was going on with it, or like why this thing was beeping in our ears.
Baffling, and why it kept changing pace when I was so consistent on the drums.
Well, I'm a big fan of your music. Congrats on this album. I can't wait to see you live at some point here in the States. We look forward to album number 2.
Yeah, we can't wait to get out there. Cheers, man.
Thank you very much for having us.